I'm really glad that Wonder Woman has that lasso of truth, because after watching this film, I have several questions. Hey everyone, welcome to the Post Geekout reaction. I'm Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
This is our look at Wonder Woman 84. Oh, and when I thought 2020 couldn't disappoint me more, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I will go ahead and let you guys know my thoughts on this film right now. I think it is okay. I think it evens out to being okay. But it's going to sound like I'm not okay with it simply because the positives I have to say about this are like, oh yeah, there's the same, that's pretty good. Yeah, oh yeah, there's that thing over there, that's pretty good. The negatives I have to say with this thing, I can already feel we're gonna go off on them.
Yeah, it's like, this is what you would expect from like a DC movie, but considering like the standards Wonder Woman set up, the original movie.
Yeah. We gotta clarify, because at this point, the DC films. Well, Peach was literally jumping like, pick me up. Well, you're up now. Are you happy? Yes, but the DC films have definitely changed over the years, and now the DC films, like the Marvel films, are pretty consistent with their quality. I've said this many times before. I don't think that the MCU has put out a bad film. They've definitely put out some films, like some like right down the middle, like whatever, like Thor: The Dark World's like whatever. And which I bring that one up because after thinking about it, I was like, this is kind of at that same quality as Thor: The Dark World, like whatever. But most of the Marvel films are all around like this quality. The DC films are all over the place because some of the best superhero films have been DC films. Some of the worst superhero films have been DC films. Some of the weirdest superhero films have been DC films, which in a weird way makes the DC universe at this point almost more exciting than the MCU. The MCU, I'm like, I'm gonna go in there and I'm going to get some quality. But with the DC, you're going like, I don't know what's coming out of this thing. This is a loot box that's about to open up on me. What's it gonna be? Ooh, man. So there's that excitement in the DC films at this point. And this one, it's like, there's so many things I look at this and go, this kind of feels like, it kind of almost has that feeling to me of the studio guys coming in here and going, well, our market research said let's do this, so we're just gonna go hard into that, and like you give it to people who don't know how to do the thing that you're telling them what to do. That's kind of the feeling that it has to me, except I know that's not the case this time around. With the previous Wonder Woman film, like, you watch that film and it's great, it's amazing for 2/3 of it. And then it gets to that final act, and not even the final act, but like the final like 15 minutes, and you're just like, what the hell just happened? What is this? And like, it totally feels like someone came in there and said, well, where's the kaboom? Where's the giant Dragon Ball Z fight? And the plot just going in directions that makes no sense at all. Where's all that stuff? Oh, hi, Zack Snyder. Can you come in here and punch up this script right now? And then, yeah, a lot of people was like, no, that's not what happened. And then before this film came out, Patty Jenkins finally came out and said, no, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, they came in and they would not let me do the finale that I wanted to do, and they told me this is what you have to do. And so yeah, that's what ended up happening. So I was like, yeah, you can feel it when you watch that film. Someone came in the very end of that film and went, nope, now we're doing this thing. God, man, I will never get over how bad the end of that film is. Sorry. It's not that it's terrible, it's just the level of quality is like, what just happened? Also, it's such a smart script, and then at the end of that film, spoilers for that first film, but at the end of that film, Ares comes in and goes, no, Diana, I wasn't the one sending the humans to war. The humans did that themselves. That's a great moment. That's great. Wonder Woman realizing that the humans are flawed and it's not Ares who was doing this. Yes, it was them. I merely whispered ideas in their mind and put them in strategic places to cause this war. And I was like, hold on, back up. Whoa, hold on. I was like, I don't remember if I complained about that the first time that we reviewed this, but it's one of those things that every time that I think about this movie, it's like, I'm sorry, how does no one ever bring up that he contradicts himself and destroys the entire meaning of that film within like one breath? Sorry, it really bugs me about that film.
And that's pretty much what the entire sequel is.
Yes, there's the weirdest thing about this. I was saying all that for a reason, is that that first film was like, wow, Patty Jenkins is really a great filmmaker. And then you get to the end, and it's like someone came in there and interfered. This film, no one's interfering with her. Like, you can feel it. You can feel that no one's interfering on this thing. And yet this entire film almost feels like that last 15 minutes of the first film. It's like, what the hell is going on here?
Just 2.5 hours of what was just 15 minutes in the first movie.
And when I say that, I don't mean like it's nothing but a giant Dragon Ball Z fight. I mean it's just like, what are you doing, and why is everything not explained, and where is just random shit popping up in here? It is so bizarre, and like, okay. Let's summarize the plot of this thing. The plot is that it's set in 1984, and I will admit, I don't think this film should have been set in 1984.
Yeah, it did not need to be.
The only reason why is because it does play into the Cold War, into like, you know, America and Russia and other countries like being on the brink of war, but it's like, dude, we're still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have to do this in 1984. It's just if you do it now, then you have to like make some bold statements about people. But if you do it back in 1984, then you just go, well, that was history, and we all know about that stuff. And that all worked out just fine, everybody. If you do it today, you gotta make statements about people that you could possibly try and sell the film to in other countries. So, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, this film didn't need to be set in 1984, and it's kind of weird that it is in 1984 because this is still in continuity with Batman vs. Superman, and in that film they say, yeah, you were seen in World War I, and you were never seen again after that. And literally this film opens up with like Wonder Woman in like her bright shine uniform, which kudos to them on buffing up the like colors on that thing. The costume looks amazing now. It always looked good, but like I greatly appreciate them like throwing in way more colors on this thing. But it opens up with her busting into a mall to stop some jewel thieves, and like just like not even trying to hide herself. And I was like, okay. She then turns to people and was like, shh, don't tell anyone. I was like, the security cameras, like.
But she used her like tiara to like.
Oh, she did? Oh,
yes.
Okay, I must have blinked at that moment. Totally missed it.
Yeah, that's the thing about this movie. It's like, there's a lot of small details that like go by very quickly, or they don't appear at all.
Until like an hour after they should have appeared. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get into that. But yeah, so it's like, but I mean, she's doing so many things all over the place. Like, it's clear that when she said like, yeah, I never suit up again after that, it's like, that's a total lie. You've clearly been doing this non-stop for decades.
Oh no, this is a different suit. When I said I don't suit up anymore, I meant my original one. Yeah, yeah.
The one that I busted out to go and save you from Doomsday. Yeah. Yeah, the giant mud monster. Yeah, I figured I don't want to get the bright shiny costume dirty in that fight, so bring out the old one from World War I. Yeah. God, I'm thinking about the other dumb things in Batman vs. Superman now, but no, we're talking about this one. We're talking about this one. I need to watch Shazam after this, just to like palate cleanse myself. It's so weird. This film feels like it was made for children, but then I'm like, no, Shazam was made for children, and that film was amazing. That's like almost a top 10 superhero film of all time kind of thing. But it feels like Shazam was made for like 10 to 13-year-olds, and this film was made for like 5-year-olds. Because, like, in the beginning of this thing, she, like, saves a little girl. And the way that she saves the little girl is, like, such cartoon physics. But, I mean, like, I'm not going to question, like, you know, crazy superhero physics, but it's, like, it's purposely played up to be, like, goofy. Like, everything in that opening sequence is played up to be goofy, and the only thing I can think is that they're trying to, like, pay tribute to the goofiness of the Christopher Reeve Superman films. Everybody was about to say, no, those films weren't goofy. They were goofy. But I'm not saying that as a negative. Like, that was part of their charm, is that they were goofy. So I'm thinking that they were trying with this film to, like, have that same type of goofiness.
Maybe they saw, like, how well Shazam did, and they're like...
I think that, like, if anything in here feels like it was an executive coming in here, it might have been somebody going, well, Shazam did really well with children, so we're going to go with that again. Except that here's the thing, Shazam did not do all that well at the theaters. Like, it's getting a sequel, and thank God for that, because that film's great. But it didn't do all that great box office-wise, which is weird to me. But... I don't know. There's whole things.
There's a lot of good movies that didn't do well in the box office, so whatever.
Exactly. And then Aquaman makes $1 billion. Then again, in all fairness, I liked Aquaman. Aquaman's stupid, but it is fun. And so I'm all for dumb fun. We're not reviewing the other DC films, and yet we keep talking about them. But anyway, so But yeah, as I was saying, I was bringing up that little girl because I was like, that little girl's like 5 years old, and there's a moment where she turns to the little girl and, like, and she's like, wink! Like, literally, that's what the little girl does. Like, it's a commercial for, like, cereal or something. And all I can think is, like, okay, I think that's the target demographic they're going for on this one. This film, it then, like, goes to Diana. She is at, oh, man. I'm sorry, just real quick, just have to point out. She opens up with her stopping these people trying to steal stuff from a mall. And they're the most incompetent, stupid things.
Yeah.
Like, one of them, like, people are, like, catching on to the fact that, like, they're stealing things. So he immediately grabs the child and starts holding her over, like, the railing of the balcony. Yeah. And all I can think is, like, okay, I get taking the child hostage, but, like, take him hostage, hold him up there, it's like, nobody get close to me. What the fuck, like, just, nobody get closer, or else I'm gonna drop this child. Like, you, like, just... Okay, how do you get out of there without, like, returning the child, then, you idiot? Like, this makes no sense at all. But then, like, the other things are telling him, no, don't do it. We literally had to, thank God, this is playing on HBO Max and not in theaters right now. Because if we were watching the theaters, I don't know what we would have done. Because we literally had to stop the movie because we were laughing so hard at this line read of the no, like,
it's basically the equivalent of the oh my god from Trolls 2.
It is totally like that same level of line read. We literally, both of us literally burst out laughing, and I, like, quickly slammed on the pause button and had to get up and take a lap around the living room just to get the giggles out, man. But okay, that lets you know what this movie's gonna be right off the bat. So,
but sadly, like, most of the funny stuff was in the first, like, few minutes.
I think because after that, it just kind of, like, gets sad, like, oh my god, this is still going. Like, and I don't mean, like, the film is long. It's 2.5 hours, but one positive I do have to give this is that it does not feel like 2.5 hours. This movie, it moved too much. This film's pacing is insane.
Yeah, like, you'd think, like, a 2.5 hour movie would, like, feel longer.
It feels almost like they tried to cram an entire season of a TV show into this 2.5 hours.
Yeah, like, we didn't even, like, talk about, like, the opening credits scene where it's like...
Oh god, you're right. Holy crap. Oh man, that just completely, like, I just went straight to the mall moment there. Alright, yeah, maybe we'll get to that later. Let's do a time moment. It is, like, not to do, like, the Marvel DC thing here on this, but it is insane to me that, like, Infinity War and Endgame, like, those things were 2.5 to 3 hours long, and they had to cram in plot elements from, like, 20 other movies and 10 years worth of things and all these characters from all these other franchises and cram them all in there. And they felt so much better paced than the film that just had to focus on one character. I mean, granted, you know, like Maxwell Lord and all of them in there as well, too. But, I mean, like, one hero, like, you just have one hero, and that thing's like, no, there's too much to talk about. We gotta get all over the place. We gotta be in this country right now. We gotta go to this thing right now and do this thing and this thing. Okay, well, we don't have time to explain that. We'll explain it later. We'll get to that thing later. Okay, well, we don't have time to explain this very important artifact that's going to pop up here at the very end of the film. So we'll just talk about very quickly in here one quick flashback. No, we gotta go. Come on, let's go, everybody. Just because this was set in the 80s didn't mean that everybody on this film had to be on coke. Anywho, that punchline was so good, it feels like I wrote it beforehand, and I swear to you I did. I'm just proud of that one. You know, just take a moment to bask in how well I set that up. Anywho, God, this review's gonna be 2.5 hours long. So, Diana...
And all over the place.
Yes. If you can't handle this review, you can't handle this movie. So Diana has been working at the Smithsonian, and there's another person there, Barbara, played by Kirsten Wiig, who goes on to be the cheetah, and she is Kirsten Wiig. And here's the thing, when I heard that Kirsten Wiig got cast as this, I had very high hopes because I wanted to see her try and do something different. And I will say this, after she becomes a villain, not immediately after she becomes a villain, because that's still just cartoony and just really...
Like in the transformations?
But no, like, okay. There's 4 stages to this character. Starting point, becoming a villain, cheetah monster. And this one right here, like stage 3, not becoming a villain, not cheetah monster, but when she's flat out a villain, I was like, that's actually some good acting out of her, and I am proud of her, and I'm glad that she got a chance to do this, and I think that she's doing a pretty darn good job. In the beginning, it is just the worst Kirsten Wiig improving, and I cannot stand Kirsten Wiig improving. I think that she's really bad at it. I'm sorry, she's an amazing comedic talent. She is an amazing comedic talent.
But she needs direction.
She needs a freaking script. And this is, and like, here's the thing. I don't like her improving in films where she's with other people who know how to improv. Here she's clearly improving in scenes with Pedro Pascal and Gal Gadot, and I can tell looking at that in 1 second that's like, oh, you guys don't know how to improv. And Kirsten Wiig is trying to carry all three of you, and she can't. She absolutely, like, Kirsten Wiig can barely carry herself improving in scenes with other people who know how to improv. She can't carry your asses two in the scene. And, like, it's some of the worst, like, oh my god, I can't believe I just said that, and oh my god, I'm going to keep saying this one sentence for an extra line longer than it really should be.
Mumbling and awkward laughing.
Yes, oh, we're having fun now. We're having fun laughter. We're having laughter fun. Oh, good times. I'm still talking. Oh, that's a line longer than it should have gone on. Yes, it is every Kirsten Wiig improv scene that you've ever seen, but so much worse. But she is also mixed with the classic comic book supervillain trope of, I'm the person with glasses who doesn't comb their hair. I'm going to become a villain. Yeah, oh my, I've seen so many people online saying that, yeah, why is it that this is just a thing for female characters in superhero films? I'm like, hold up. I will grant you it is definitely a trend with female characters in superhero films, especially when they're the villains. But it's not just female, like, Edward Nygma, like the Riddler from Batman Forever. Jamie Foxx, Electro in Amazing Spider-Man. Guy Pearce in Iron Man 3. This is just a thing. Where if you get cast for a superhero film, it's like, hey, you're going to be in a superhero film. You're playing a nerd and you've got glasses on. Okay, cool. That means I get to be the hero, right? You also don't comb your hair. Oh. Well, guess I gotta learn to be evil now. Yeah, so she's that mixed with her classic improv skills that you've seen in like everything she's ever done.
Brushing your hair and proper hygiene automatically makes you a hero.
Yes. That's the true lesson. That was well done. So yeah, she's meeting with her, and the two of them become quick friends. Very quick, which I'll talk about in a second. But
it's almost like she has a crush on
it really seemed like that. And here's the thing, I don't think they meant for it to seem like that either. I think it just kind of happened.
Well, that's what fanfics are for.
Oh, you're gonna see. So, man, if this thing like, if this was a better movie, the internet right now would be nothing but those fan pics. That would be it. Those shipping pics. That'd be it.
It's like, Chris Pine, who?
Oh, yeah. Which is a shame, because he's really... Never mind, we'll get to him in a second. And she is playing, like, this nerdy character who no one respects at all. Like, no one. Like, there is a moment in which her boss goes up to her and says, hi, have you seen Barbara around here? And she goes, oh, I'm Barbara. You know me. You hired me last week. Oh. I was like... Wow, like, I get what you're trying to do, but I mean, even by these goofy comic book standards, that's one step too far. I was like, you don't remember the person you hired last week? Okay. But yeah, she's very much just tropey. She is very much just like, you know this character. I don't need to keep explaining. In fact, everything about what happens to her is very tropey. Like, they want to establish that she was a good person before becoming a villain. So how does she do that? Goes and gives food to a homeless black guy. And it's like, see, she cares about people. Yes, exactly. And it's like, yeah, we've seen this in other films. Yes, we've seen this in many other films, because that's just how you establish a character without having to write, you know, long, complex things for them. Anyway, but yeah, so they end up finding this stone, and it's a wishing stone, and you wish on it, and then you get whatever you want, but there's a drawback to it, and you only get one wish. Here's the thing, though. They don't explain either of those two parts until way later in the film. And why is that important? Well, because then Pedro Pascal comes in, and he's playing Maxwell Lord. And here's the thing, a lot of people have said Maxwell Lord is just Donald Trump in this film. He is not. He is, like, he's got the hair, he is not Donald Trump. For starters, he actually cares about his kids. And secondly, like, he's actually kind of sympathetic, and, like, you kind of, like, get this sense that, like, oh, he actually, like, there's actually, like, kind of, like, a good guy somewhere buried deep down.
Yeah, it's like
he's actually kind of an interestingly written character.
Like, he wants to be successful so his kid can have whatever he wants, basically.
Well, also because, like, when he was a kid, he had nothing.
Yes.
Like, he grew up, like, being...
Like, he knew what it was like to have nothing, so that's why he wanted to give his own son everything.
Well, he also wants stuff himself.
Yeah, that's true, too.
I mean, there is a moment in which he just flat out, and was like, this was the thing which we were questioning in this film, was like, he literally gets the exact thing that he wanted very early in this film. Why does he keep going? And at the end of this film, someone asks him, and he just says, why not ask for more? It's like, so he's just, you know, he is very 80s greed. But yeah, people are like, oh, he's Donald Trump. It's like, he is very much not Donald Trump. He is just every infomercial guy from the 80s. Like, I think a lot of people comparing him to Donald Trump are just doing that because they don't have that memory of those infomercial guys from the 80s. These guys were a dime a dozen back then. Back in the 80s, there was always some guy on your TV on a yacht going, I can teach you how to be just like me and become everything that I have become. He's just that guy. That's all he is. And I started those off by saying, like, you really didn't have to set this in the 80s. His character is the one thing that is very 80s.
Yeah.
You could have rewritten him to be in the modern time, but his character is that one thing that's like, oh, you are 80s.
Yeah, it's like, you'd think, like, there'd be, like, more references to the 80s.
There comes a point, it's like, honestly, after the breakdancing little, like, throwaway joke that they did, I don't think there's another thing in here, aside from the fact that it's, like, dealing with the Cold War, that really feels like it was set in the 80s.
Well, I guess they were making fun of the 80s fashion when Chris Pine was like...
That was before the breakdancing thing, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, like I'm saying, after the breakdancing throwaway joke, like, I don't think there's, like, ever any mention of, like... There's nothing in here that feels like it had to be in the 80s other than, like we said, it does deal with the Cold War, but as we mentioned earlier, it's not like those issues really went away. Yeah, you could easily have set this in the modern day and then you wouldn't have had to have worried about the whole, like, oh, make sure that nobody sees me or knows about me kind of thing. It's like, yeah, that's a whole thing that we don't have to worry about. Anyway, but yeah, so Pedro Pascal is playing this guy, Maxwell Lord, and he is this oil tycoon, but his company is not doing well at all. And so he gets his hands on the wishing rock, and apparently he's been studying this on his own all the time. Also, apparently when you flirt with someone at the Smithsonian, so they let you take a valuable artifact with you, they still write you a receipt. That was interesting. But he takes it, and his wish, I don't know if we should talk about now or wait until we get to the spoilers.
But, like...
We have to talk. We have to.
It's like, we can't really continue explaining the movie without...
Yeah, I could, but man, you thought we'd been a jumbled mess up until now. It's about to get even worse if we don't talk about this. His wish isn't to get what he wants. His wish is to become the wishing rock. At which point, I literally turned to you and said, did this motherfucker just Jafar himself? What the hell? It's like, we were both speechless. We were both sitting there going, what?
It's like, what? I wish to become the rock, and then suddenly he just, like, pops into a rock or something.
I thought that was gonna happen. I thought that was gonna happen. Which he's slowly, like, throughout the rest of the film, he's slowly dying. He's slowly dying because of this wish they made. But I was like, dude, there's gotta be, like, a moment where you, like, look at your hand and it's turning to a rock or something. Like, the setup is too good. But I know why they did this. The reason that they did this was because, in the comics, Maxwell Lord has mind control powers, but it hurts him to use his mind control powers, so every time that he uses them, he gets a nosebleed. So that's how they kind of is like, well, now he's got these powers to grant other people their wish, but towards the end of the film, he's now getting nosebleeds and he's bleeding from his ears and stuff. So I was like, okay, I get what you're trying to do, tying this into the comics and everything. But the best way that I can sum up this decision that they made with him was that I saw a tweet online in which someone said a lot of people thought Cheetah was going to be the big villain, not many people expected it to be Maxwell Lord. And then I saw another tweet going, this film was so lazy, that was one of the worst plot devices I've ever seen. And in my mind, being the big comic book nerd, I went, it's going to be revealed in the third act that Maxwell Lord has been controlling people with mind control powers. That's going to be like the big twist. And if you're not a comic book fan, you won't have seen it coming. They might not set up or anything. Like, that's what those two tweets jigsawed pieced together in my mind. Because if you know that about Maxwell Lord, that's what those two tweets really seem like they're teaming up to say. I would never in 1,000 years have guessed he finds a magic wishing rock, wishes to become the rock, so he can then give other... This is his brilliant plan. His brilliant plan is to get his hands on the wishing rock, not so he can give himself his wish, but so he can then trick other people into wishing for the thing that he wants. He's the Wishmaster. He becomes the corny 90s horror franchise Wishmaster is what this is. It's, oh my god.
But like then like the whole monkey's paw thing, which was never really associated until just now.
That is the thing, is that there is a reason for it. There is a reason why he would make this wish, is because everybody only gets one wish, and if you make a wish, you have to give something up. So now by doing this, he can essentially get infinite wishes, just as long as he can trick other people into saying it, which, the way he tricks people, it is, if you saw our review for Wishmaster, which we did during Halloween month, I mentioned that was really lazy because he would just go up to people and just go, haven't you ever thought about this thing here? Did you ever want that to be true? And they will go, I guess so. Your wish is my command. Like, they didn't, that's, objection, leading the witness. It's literally the same thing. It's literally just the exact same thing. He goes, haven't you ever wanted this thing? I guess so. Say that you wish for that. Say those exact words. I'm not being like, weird.
It even gets to the point where it's like the other person doesn't even have to say I wish. They just say, yeah, I guess I would like that, and suddenly just poof.
It's Wishmaster at that point, yeah. And so it's like, oh my god, I thought it was cheesy in Wishmaster. I'm gonna think it's cheesy as fuck in this film. But yeah, it is eventually explained, like, that is why he wanted to do this. Here's the thing! They don't explain that until an hour after this happens. And here, I will admit, every now and again, I miss stuff in films. I missed that part when she took out the security cameras. But we were both sitting there, watching this film, focusing on it. If they explain this, somehow it missed both of us at once. Somehow we both just Neo-Matrix dodged around that plot point. And I went online and I talked about this, and many other people comment on, well, there isn't a reason for it. But they don't explain it for an hour. Yeah. How the hell do you introduce a thing in your film that will make the majority of your audience think this is really dumb, and then you don't explain why it's not dumb for another hour into your film? How do you have your big villain of the entire film set up so that your audience thinks he's a freaking moron for an hour of your movie? That is awful pacing. It feels like it feels like somebody just forgot to include that in here. And there's another thing later on. We've all seen this in the trailers where Wonder Woman puts on her big golden armor. We've all seen that in the trailers. The way that gets introduced is there is a moment, like, in the third act. Like, we're almost out of this film.
Like, they're, like, getting ready for the big fight and shit.
Yeah, like they are going and, like, okay, we gotta go and get prepped for the big finale of this thing. Let's go run into this room. Chris Pine looks over. Hey, what's that thing there? Oh, it's this magical armor from my people. I found it a couple of years ago, and it was this magic thing imbued by this person. That is how that is introduced.
It might as well just like be like, hey, what's that over there? And there's a sign that says Deus Ex Machina.
Plot device.
Plot device.
Hell, maybe that's the thing that tweet was talking about. I don't know. Yeah, that was awful setup for this thing. And it's like, it's the same thing with the wishing rock. It feels like they wrote this script out, got to the moment, Wonder Woman shows up in the golden armor. What golden armor? Oh, fuck me, man. Oh, okay, oh, here's a moment where we can mention it. It's like, jeez, this is such bad writing. This is awful. Oh my god. And here's the thing. We kept looking at this going, this was written by Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns. How the hell is it this bad? Patty Jenkins, like, granted, I haven't seen a lot of the things she's done, but I mean, like, I saw Monster and I saw the first Wonder Woman, and those are both good, and I believe she wrote Monster. I know she directed it, but I believe she also wrote it. But it's like, okay, so like, as far as I can tell, she's a talented writer. Geoff Johns, I mean, he hasn't done a lot of stuff for movies. He's mostly a comic book writer, but he is Mr. DC, and I think that he actually is a pretty damn good writer, so I can't picture him doing this. And then we saw there's one other writer on this film, and we looked up what he's done. His track record is not great. I don't remember everything we saw on that list, but we did see that he wrote the Doom 2005 movie. The, like, Dwayne Johnson Doom film, and, like, as soon as you mentioned that, I went, this is that same level of quality in the writing. This is, like, it's, like, tonally, it's totally different, but quality-wise, it's the same level. And here's the thing. You're not going to have Patty Jenkins and Geoff Johns sit down, write out a script, and then that guy comes in here to punch it up. No, you're going to get Patty Jenkins and Geoff Johns to sit down and go, so what should happen in this movie? Cool, let's write down a couple notes, and now let's slide that across the table to the guy who has the time to actually write the script, and that dude's the guy who wrote this. It's like, that's exactly what happened. Like, this is not from the person who made that last Wonder Woman film. This is from the person who made Doom 2005. That's what this is. Oh, man. It's like, it was one of those things that as soon as we like looked up that dude's IMDb page, the sky parted and light shone down, and we were like, now I understand. It all makes sense. It was my Usual Suspects turn around and drop the coffee cup moment. Oh, man. Yeah, it's that level of bad. God. I mean, we talked about how, like, everybody only gets one wish. Except for when they decide you can get two. It's like, oh my god. It's literally like, Barbara... Okay. Kirsten Wiig, Cheetah, she wishes that she could be like Diane, which, by the way, even beyond the script, this thing has problems. Because there is nothing to this rock other than it just being a paperweight. Because when someone grabs it and they start wishing on it, like, the most that happens is, like, there's a little tiny...
A gust of wind.
Like, I don't even want to say gust.
It's like...
It's like someone opened the window all of a sudden.
Like, just someone, like, breathed on you, like...
Yeah. The rotating fan just happened to come back in your direction at that moment. Because it's, like, it's so small and subtle, and I was like... It doesn't feel like this is actually doing something. So when stuff actually happens, it feels random despite the fact that you showed me the reason why it's happening. Despite the fact that you showed me the reason why it's happening, it still feels like there's no reason for this to happen right now.
Like, unless that's, like, what they were trying to get across, like...
That it feels like there's no reason for anything?
Like, it's supposed to be very subtle, so, like, people who don't know about the rock can't figure it out.
Oh, I definitely think they were going for subtle, but they went for but what they achieved was non-existent. Because, like I said, when stuff starts happening, I'm like, it really feels like things are just happening now. It feels like they, like, and also, how freaking lazy is it that it's literally just like, we found a rock, now I'm just going to grab this and wish for this thing. It, like, it's supposed to be like a genie or monkey paw situation. Like, at least those things typically have, like, some level of, like, ominousness or showmanship to it, or, like, there's some kind of a quest that you gotta go on to find this thing, and there's, like, lore built up around the thing before you even start using the thing. There's, like... They just find a rock and it's like, I don't know what this thing is. I wish for this. Oh, hey, I think it's a wishing rock.
Remember, there's like ancient text on it that Diane figured out. So, and it was supposed to be something about like.
But didn't they figure that out afterwards? Like, I thought she figured that out. I don't know. I'm getting this all mixed up in my head because I seriously think that like she figured it out after. Oh, like, maybe she figured out it was a wishing rock, but no, they figured out, like, all the other stuff afterwards.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's what it is. Yeah, they figured out all the stuff about, like, it being, like, the monkey paw situation.
Yeah,
by the way, oh my god, you want to talk about other elements of this film that literally feels like they forgot how to introduce this, and they had to just go and go, alright, just, I don't know, something. The reason that how they were able to learn that it is a monkey paw situation, how they were able to learn all the rules of this thing is some random dude just contacts them and says, here, I have a book on this. Okay, I'm gone from the film now, bye. What? So is that dude ever coming back? Do we ever get, like, anything on why he knew anything? Like, is there any separate? No, he's just gone? Okay, thanks, Mr. Ex Machina. Oh my god. Okay, well, I'm getting too salty about this. Like I said, I need to make sure that I clarified to you guys in the beginning. I think this film is okay. I think it's okay, but oh my god, the problems in this movie. So anywho, oh god, yeah, I didn't even talk about it, but it was like, yeah, like, Barbara, she grabs the rock, she wishes that she's just like Diana, so she gains all these magical powers, she gains all these powers of Wonder Woman. And then, like, later on in the film, when she teams up with Maxwell Lord, he goes, tell you what, wish for whatever you want, I'm feeling generous right now. And then she makes another wish, and all I can think is, the rule is you only get one wish. I understand that you wished on the rock, and now it's Max, but he wished he was the rock. That means that he's still the rock. That means you still already got your wish. And also, like, we've seen that she turns into the cheetah. She's the cheetah, she's going to turn into the cheetah person. There's no transformation sequence. There is no nothing on that. She is 100% normal, 100% exactly how she was, unchanged, completely the same. Wonder Woman shows up, and now Cheetah Person is here. And, like, you literally had to ask what the hell is going on. Like, you had to ask, so, like, he stole life force and that caused her to become a... Like, I had to go, no, she wished that she was this. Later, like, she got 2 wishes out of the thing. It is so crazy to me that, like, the entire reason why Max has to become the Rock is because that's the only way that he can get multiple wishes. And then they immediately break the 1-wish rule. It's so crazy to me.
I'm sorry, but like every time you say like Maxwell becoming the Rock, I just think of him being like
da 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 da. No, wait, that's John Cena.
But yeah, like, I'm imagining him like suddenly transforming into like Dwayne Johnson.
No, that's Black Adam. That's the other DC film. That's the only way. Oh, people kept talking about how there's a great mid-credit sequence. Yeah. You know, honestly, the mid-credit sequence, it's nice, but it's hinted at earlier. I wish it had just remained a hint, because I looked at that and went, oh, that's a really clever thing that they did there. And then the mid-credit sequence is them literally just coming out and going, did you guys catch that we did that thing in there? It's like, yes, that's what made it special that you didn't point it out. Anywho, whatever. But yeah, like, I thought they were going to set up, like, something else, and there comes that moment in which, like, Maxwell Lord goes this guy in the Middle East, and he's wishing to reclaim his homeland, and all I can think is like, that sounds awfully familiar to Black Adam. Are you setting up something with Kahndaq in here? Is that what you're saying? I was like, so that's what I thought like the mid-credit sequence was gonna be. I was like, no, it ain't. There's not, like, this film feels like it does not exist tied to any other DC Universe film, which I think is what DC is. I'd say that's what DC's going for now, but it's like, no, Birds of Prey tied into it pretty well, and Shazam tied into it pretty well. So I don't even know. I think DC's just doing what DC wants to do. Which, in all honesty, hey man, it's working for you.
Sort of.
It's working for you better than when you tried to copy Marvel. Actually, you know what? That implies that was your problem, and not that you handed Batman and Superman over to the Ayn Rand nut job. Anywho, enjoy that comment section down there, everybody. So, I think we've talked about the plot enough. We didn't even talk about the fact that Chris Pine returns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was her wish.
Yeah, that's obvious. Which I will say this, I think that he and Gal Gadot have really good chemistry. And I will be honest with you, I've been saying throughout all these films, I don't know how I feel about Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I didn't like her in Batman vs. Superman, but I didn't like anything in Batman vs. Superman. I thought she was okay in Justice League, but yeah, again, that's kind of a Batman Superman situation where it's like nobody really came out looking great in that film. I think in that first film, I think she was pretty good, but I thought she was one of the weaker elements of the film. I know that's really controversial, but I was like, I think she was just okay in that first film. I think that, like, sorry. I think she was just okay in the first film. This film starts off and I'm like, oh, I do not, I'm going back into bad now. But then again, everything in the beginning of this film is bad. Once she pairs up with Chris Pine, they have such good chemistry, and then, like, after all the Chris Pine stuff, and she goes off and, like, into the later parts of this film, I actually think she's pretty darn good. This is going to be one of the big compliments I have to give this. This actually is the film that made me go, you know what? I'm actually now cool with you as Wonder Woman. I'm actually down with that. I think you're pretty darn good in this role. Also, another compliment I can give this film, because I think I've worn out all the negatives. I haven't, but I've worn out as much as I want to say about the negatives. As we said, the pacing is crazy in this thing, but for 2.5 hours, it's kind of impressive that you, like, kept me invested that entire time. That, like, I didn't, like, I saw a lot of people saying that they got bored with this film. I was never bored. I gotta give this film that. 2.5 hours, never bored.
No, because we were too busy going, wait a minute.
It's kind of, yeah. It's kind of hard to be bored watching just car wrecks for, like, 2.5 hours. Also, there's only really, like, one big action sequence in here. It's pretty darn good. I actually really like that action sequence. I actually thought that was pretty darn good in here. Maxwell Lord is nothing but a gigantic cartoon character. But when you get the little bits of backstory on him, I enjoyed that. I thought that was alright.
Kind of wish there was like a little bit more of that.
Yeah, that was one thing that I saw a lot of people online saying that the big problem with this film is that this is a Wonder Woman movie that isn't about Wonder Woman. It's about Maxwell Lord. And I was like, I still think this is totally about Wonder Woman.
Like, the thing is, like...
It's just that they were able to make Maxwell Lord kind of like sympathetic, I guess, towards the end.
The thing is, like... I think this movie would have been a lot better if, like, the characters had more development. Like, you know, yeah, like Barbara and Max, they both needed, like, more, like...
Barbara has, like, no... Barbara's, like, again, is that classic, like, comic book movie trope of, like, I'm a nerd with frizzled hair, I'm going to become evil, and then it just happens. Yeah, so, like, she gets, like, no development. You could have done way more with her character, especially with all the things that they're trying to, like, play into with her character and make her character, like, talk about when it comes to, like, social issues and such. Yeah, it is, like, you could have done so much more with their character, and they didn't. But when it comes to Wonder Woman, this is going to be a very controversial take. But I feel like this is something that makes a Wonder Woman film kind of hard to do, is that because Wonder Woman is immortal, and at this point she's like a couple 100 years old, it's kind of hard to give her a huge arc in a film. It's kind of hard to have her come in here and go, like, I learned a very important lesson here today. It's like, you've been around for like a couple 100 years at this point.
And now you're just learning
this. And now you're learning this thing. It's like, yeah, okay. It's got, like, in the first film, it was done great because she didn't know anything about man's world. She's now been living in man's world for 80 years. She kind of knows this stuff now at this point. So, yeah, I think one of the reasons why people are like, well, this film wasn't really about Wonder Woman is like, well, Wonder Woman didn't really have to go on an emotional arc. Like, she did go on something. The whole thing about, like, Steve Trevor and all that stuff. Like, yeah, that was something. Won't get into too many spoilers about that. But, like, she had to then realize, like, oh, the wish that I made is empowering the bad guy. And, like, she had to, like, go and, like, think about all these things with that. It's like, okay, so you did give her something in there. But, yeah, Wonder Woman, seeing as how she is immortal, it instantly becomes a little bit harder for her to have, like, a huge character arc compared to other characters who are still growing and learning things. And there's going to be a very controversial opinion on this one, but it's like, I do not agree with the people out there who said, well, this film isn't about Wonder Woman. I think it's absolutely about Wonder Woman. I think out of all the problems in this film, that's not one of them. Also, another compliment I have to give this, I dug that the resolution of this film did not come down to a big, like, superpower fight. Like, Maxwell Lord did not become, like, some giant behemoth god and Wonder Woman had to go flying all around and punching him and stuff. Like, no. I actually think that the ending to this is far more in line with Wonder Woman. It still has problems, but that's more in terms of what happens with other characters. In terms of, like, how Wonder Woman saves the day, I was like, that's actually pretty good in line with Wonder Woman. I like that. Anything else you want to add in terms, before we get to, like, spoiler stuff?
Is there... There's so much going on in this movie that it's hard for me to, like, pick out anything. I
know I'm forgetting stuff. But yeah, they do introduce a classic part of Wonder Woman mythology in here. And it's kind of corny that they just, like, stop the whole film and just kind of introduce it. But I was like, you know what? Setups for it is kind of okay. I thought that was pretty good, and, like, it looked pretty cool in, like, execution, so I did enjoy that. It was, again, another Deus Ex Machina where they just pulled something out of thin air. I was like, whatever. Like, that's one that I'll kind of give you, because it was mostly just there for, like, fan service and such. Although, I know that if I go into that, it just spoils it. That was another big flaw that I had to think about, but okay. Yeah, do you want to get into spoiler stuff?
Might as well.
Let's just go into it. Okay. So, Steve Trevor, who has not flown a plane in 70 years, gets behind the wheels of a fighter jet, and they just let him fly all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. And all I could think is, that would be like if a pilot today got behind the wheel of a spaceship. What are you doing, man? What are, like, alright. It's a small thing, but it's another one of the small things that bug me.
But then...
Yeah, here's where we get into the really messed up stuff. Okay, I had to get that off my chest because we were just talking about the invisible jet, if maybe I couldn't tell us what I was hinting at. And I was like, no, I got it. Like, even when the invisible jet was cool, I was like, are you actually gonna let this man who has never even seen one of these planes fly this thing right now? He probably doesn't even know what half the dials in there are for. So, anywho, Steve, I'm so glad that you're alive right now, so let's do this thing that is almost guaranteed to kill you. That's my Gal Gadot, everybody. I'm bad with accents. So, I have never been this exhausted from doing a review. We just got to the spoiler part. We recorded that Avengers Endgame review when I had a stomach virus, and I still had more energy than I have right now. Okay, focus me. Alright, at the end of this film, Maxwell Lord is just going, like, hog wild up to everybody he can find.
Like, he's trying to find, like, all the most, like, powerful people in the world and, like, going up and, like, holding their hands, like, don't you wish that this would happen or something like that?
Like, he goes up to a televangelist and, like, it is so lazy how they set some of this stuff up. Like, he goes up to a televangelist and says, so you have all these people and they constantly get together and they pray, right? Okay, would it be possible for them to say, I wish rather than I pray? It's like, dude, we get it. All you had to do was say, so you have how many people in your congregation who all pray to you? Cut. End scene. We know what you're doing. Like, no. Someone out there in the audience still hasn't gotten it, everybody. Hold on. All right, so what if we get to, hold on, hear this out. What if we substitute pray for wish? Such lazy, like I said, it's gotta be the Doom guy. It's gotta be the Doom guy. Seriously, look up that dude's IMDb page and just be like, why did you give this to him? It's so weird. It's so weird, everybody. So, I'm so flushed right now. Focus. I have to pick one thing to talk about.
One thing out of like
so many in my head. I am Maxwell Lord at the end of this film in which there's just voices coming at me from every direction right now.
So many things.
Yes. Dear God! I forgot that. We're about to do our review after this for Soul. It's so weird to me that the end of this movie is supposed to have the same message as Soul. And I just looked at it, I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. It's like, it wouldn't be, the ending of this would be bad, even if it weren't for the fact that we just saw a film that was supposed to have the same message and did it so much better. Yeah, at the end of this film, Maxwell Lord, which by the way, every single time that someone makes a wish to him, he takes something away from them in order to make himself more powerful. But then there's times in which he does grant wishes for people, and we never find out that there's a negative to it. Like we said, we never get introduced to this idea that there are drawbacks to these wishes until an hour after he starts making the wishes, and he goes up to somebody who was like this business partner of his, and then he gets him to like make this wish, and he says, okay, in return, I take all these things from you. And we just sat there like, how the fuck does that work? What? So you just get to take whatever you want from this? And I was like, so in my mind, I started thinking, okay, so maybe there's like a weird drawback with the wishes or something. I started to form that thought, but then he immediately goes to his secretary and gets her to wish for a bigger staff, but there's no drawback to that. So I'm like, okay, I guess there isn't drawbacks to this stuff in here.
There's only drawbacks when, like, to move the plot along.
Yes. Yes. So, oh God, it's so bad.
Then it gets even more ridiculous.
Go, I'm done talking. I need a breather. Go.
Like, he ends up going up to the president and taking...
Who was that president?
It was supposed to be Reagan,
Maybe?
but he looked like a fusion of Reagan and Nixon.
It did. Like, literally, when he walked in that room, I thought, Nixon? Like, you were set in the 80s. 1984 is part of the title of this film. You walk into the White House, and my first reaction was, Nixon? You know you messed something up. The only thing that I can think is that wasn't supposed to be Reagan. It was supposed to just be generic white dude president man. That's all I can think is that was just supposed to be like generic president guy. But I mean, you're playing so deeply into the Cold War and shit, like, and the guy's got Reagan's hair.
The Reagan hair,
He totally has Reagan's hair, but he's not doing like a Reagan voice. His body type is absolutely wrong for Reagan. Did you get like a Teamster who was on set that day who just happened to have that haircut to like fill in? What happened? Oh my God.
But then after talking to the president, he notices like, hey.
Oh my God.
Hey, what's all this? And ratings.
It's literally like that. It's literally like that. And she goes, okay. He asks the president what he wants. The president says more nukes, and he goes, all right. In return, I have more power than you, and you answer to me. Sure, whatever you want. Okay, great. And then he turns around and sees the TV. I'm sorry. Can that reach everyone in the world? It's like, this is like some Independence Day, like figuring out to create a virus shit where you just turn around and see something.
But like the explanation is even more ridiculous. Like, oh yes, see these TV we're gonna channel particles. And
I'm glad you're explaining this because I couldn't get through it. Go.
But it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna like use these. It's like, yeah, like we're gonna broadcast throughout the entire world using these TVs, and we're gonna like use particles. And like Maxwell's like, wait, do these particles touch these people? And he's like, yeah. It's like, I want those TVs. I'm gonna make a big announcement. And that's like, he uses the particles to touch the people who are watching his broadcast so he can grant their wishes and basically take all their power and become like the most powerful being in the world. And that's not how it really works. Like, shouldn't he supposed to be physically touching these people? I don't think broadcasting his actual face and talking to them would count, but like...
This is after he just decides to give Cheetah 2 wishes.
Yeah, it's like...
So fuck it, there's no rules, none of this matters.
It's like, apparently he's so powerful that he can break his own rules.
Except for the rule that is killing him slowly. Which, why is it killing him slowly? Like, why? Like, if your wish is supposed to have a negative consequence on you, why is it just so happening that it's taking away his health because it's supposed to take away the thing that you value most or some shit? Which, I don't... Did it take anything away from, like, Cheetah? Or, like, is that why she turned evil? Like, was the thing she valued most being a good person?
Like, I remember Diana saying, like, what happened to your humanity?
Oh, okay. That did happen. Which, by the way, there's so many times we were here in which Diana said, like, this isn't you. And I'm like, you knew her for half a day! What the hell? God damn. God damn. Okay. I should not be cursing this much during the Wonder Woman review. So
I'd rather have you curse during the Wonder Woman review than like some of the other movies we were gonna watch because they're actually better than this.
Come back for that Soul review. But yeah, so essentially, Maxwell Lord transmits this to everybody around the world, which it is very weird to me that this goes to everybody around the world when it's the president. Like, the president has the power to interrupt signals in like Ireland and the Middle East, and
here's the thing: is like, Well, like, it's like, it's not even translated for, like, foreign countries, so it's like...
It's not! Oh my god, I didn't even think about that.
He's speaking in English, but, like, then you, like, cut to, like, people in, like, China and everything, and it's like, so do they know what he's saying, or... How do they know if they don't, like, if that's not, like, their, like, native language?
Seriously, how many people were watching that just going, who is this man? Who is this man on my screen right now?
Who is he and what is he talking about? Oh, and here's another thing, like, as soon as he tells...
What the hell were those infomercials he was selling at the beginning of this film, too? Like, the whole, like, life is good, but it could be better. It's like, are you just selling oil? What are you... Because that's all I know you do. What are your infomercials for? That's a small thing. Go on, sorry.
But, like, then suddenly, like... The people just, like, start wishing for things, but it's, like, all horrible shit. Like, not a single person wished for world peace or for, like...
I saw a tweet online that somebody said, this film, the lesson of this film is life is good the way it is, but it's told from the point of view of privileged people. And I don't know if I would agree with that 100%, but after sitting on it and thinking about it a little bit, I was like, that's kind of what happens at the end, because everybody making wishes are just making wishes of like, I want revenge on this. I want terrible things to happen to other people out there. And the lesson they're supposed to learn is like, no, life is good. It's like, where's the motherfucker about to lose their home and they're just wishing that they could pay their rent? Where's the person whose family member is dying of cancer and they're wishing for a cure? Like, where's all that stuff? And all you think, and like, at the end of this film, Diana, she wraps Maxwell Lord up with the lasso of truth and causes him to see everything that's happening.
Because, like, the lasso not only makes you tell the truth, but also helps you see the truth.
Yes, which, and again, for a one-woman thing, to have it, like, end on peace and not on a big knockdown, drag-out fight. Which, by the way, that cheetah fight, I don't know, what'd you think of it? I don't know.
It was weird. Yeah.
It's not that great.
No.
It's not very good. I thought it was pretty poor, honestly. It also kind of looked like they were ashamed to show Cheetah, because it looked like they never wanted to focus on her that much.
I guess they knew about the Cats movie and they were like, ah, shit.
Oh, maybe! Maybe! Anyway, so yeah, I didn't think that fight scene was all that great. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I was like, it's underwhelming. That's the word. It is underwhelming to me.
Yeah, that's kind of how this entire movie is. Just.
But yeah, she wraps him up and like forces him to like see everything that's going on, and like he kind of realized like, oh, this is why I keep wanting more things, and I have my son and I love my son and all this stuff. Like,
by the way, he never really granted his son's wish.
Oh my god!
Even though
rules! There are no fucking rules to any of this! If they just make it up like his son is about to make a wish while touching his dad, and dad goes, no! And takes the arm away, and then like, the son still makes a wish while touching his leg, and then the dad gets something, and then he gets something like, oh no, no! And it's like, but the son never suffers like any consequences. The dad doesn't like having this. Like, what is the negative consequence to this?
And then when his son is like watching him on TV, he's like, Dad, I wish you were home. I wish you were home right now.
And then he doesn't come back home. What the I mean, I guess if you want to get like technical, like at the very end, like after this gets resolved, he comes back home. I was like, yeah, but like, I honestly thought like the end of this was going to be his son wishes for him to come back home, and then he just like teleport back home.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And then he'd see what's happening to his son, like locked up there all alone, and be like, what have I become, or something like that. And it's like, you have like a great setup for this, and you don't do it. And
yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't know how I feel about the fact that in order to undo all this, you just gotta get people like to renounce their wishes. I don't know how I feel about that.
Like, I feel like maybe they should have at least like touched the stone again or something. But like, considering like the stone is now Maxwell, it's like, I don't know. Like,
also, like, Wonder Woman, so she has to say goodbye to Chris Pine, and it is a good emotional moment. I do think it's a good emotional moment. But kind of like with how they didn't show Cheetah transforming, and it's just like, oh, what the heck just happened there? Wonder Woman just walks away from Chris Pine as he walks behind a wall. And then she goes, I renounce my wish, and then flies away. So there's no like Chris Pine looking at her fly away, and then like you see him like slowly fading away or something. Like there's no emotional like goodbye. Like we now know that the wish went away because like we see like Chris Pine's final moments or anything like that. Like it is just kind of like, I'm gonna be over here. I'm gonna be off camera now. Well, I guess that worked. And it's like, this could have been done so much better. And I want to talk about like how so much of the bad writing here is to blame with the Doom guy, but I just realized that's what people refer to like the main character of Doom as, Doom guy. I was like, oh, I didn't, I'm sorry.
No, he's not that cool.
I do just picture the giant Doom Slayer now behind a keyboard just click, click, click. Doom guy, you forgot to put here this scene. You know, we'll make something in post, We're good. You're good, man. It's like, I'm not gonna tell him no. Are you fucking nuts? Just say the armor was there in her room the entire time. I don't give a shit. But yeah, like, no, that's something with Patty Jenkins. Like, that's something with the director. Like, you shouldn't just have had a guy walk off screen and it's like, well, I guess that worked. Like, no, this is supposed to be like the big like, there's so many more emotional ways that you could like have that like pay off, and like you could have actually showed us that renouncing your wish like had like something to do with Chris Pine there. But it's like, I mean, they do show us her powers returning, and I like that. I did like that. But it's like you could have done way better stuff with that. But anyway, she uses the lasso, gets everybody like, and she talks to everybody through the lasso around the entire world, and basically forces, and like it does kind of go back to that thing that tweet said, which is like they're just trying to say that the world is fine the way it is. Like, no, it's not. There's many problems out there, and you know some people would use their wishes for good. Like, you brought this up, like, they're talking about how, like, all these nukes are about to launch and go all over the world. And you brought up, like, isn't anyone going to wish for world peace? Is no one going to wish for world peace? Not a single person. Like, that's what you brought up, and as soon as you said that, I went, oh, well, there goes all the tension out of this. No one's going to wish for that. It's like, oh my God, you're absolutely right. But it's like, yeah, it is just trying to say, it's like, no, you shouldn't just wish for these things. And I was like, screw you, man. Some people, like, need this. And, like, you're not showing any, like, it would be one thing if you showed people out there having to make these tough decisions. But the only person that has to make, like, a tough decision is Diana in here. Everybody else is just wishing for evil, horrible things. Or greed.
Yes.
Or just whatever they want. No one out there, and like the lesson is like, no guys, you guys don't need all that extra stuff. It's like, or what about the people who just need to survive?
Or maybe the good people are having their wishes ignored, like the little kid.
Maybe! And in the very end of this film, like, I mean, at the end of this film, Pedro Pascal, Maxwell Lord, he renounces the wish himself. Everybody around the world renounces their wish, which, by the way, again, we're just talking about, I was like, this ain't even tied into any continuity for anything else at this point. Because, like, in Batman vs Superman, like, it's weird to me that, like, okay, so there's never been any other superhero activities until now. Except for that time when everybody just got wishes granted. We're just going to ignore that stuff.
Like, I thought there would be, like, a complete mind wipe if they...
Something like that.
Yeah. Like
something like that.
Like if you reverse the wish and like all like it would be like nothing. Yeah, like nothing ever happened at all. But
something like that. But yeah, at the end of this, Maxwell Lord, he goes back home and he finds his son and he picks him up and is like, I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to support you. And all I could think was, actually no, you guys know me. All I could think was that, oh, so it's just Guile from Street Fighter 2. Go home and be a family man. That's Diana's win quote right there. Go home and be a family man. But no, the other thing I could think was like, so do you not have any comeuppance coming? Like, at all? Like, you almost started World War III there. You got so many people hurt. You did so many terrible things, so many horrible people. And you have no comeuppance coming? At all? Like, you learned your lesson, that's good and all that, but... nothing? And didn't you make enemies out of the president and like an oil tycoon and like all these other, like, didn't you make so many enemies? So there's no comeuppance. Like, you're not even going to jail or anything. Like, nothing. Is anybody even going to come up to you and go, hey, weren't you that guy on TV granting wishes? Like, nothing. He just gets to go and be like a normal dad now. Alright, sure. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, but I do, like I said, I do like that the ending comes down like Diana trying to use the lasso of truth rather than like she's using her words, she's speaking to like the heart of these people rather than just being like some big knockdown drag out fight. Like, I do appreciate that.
I just wish it could have been done better.
I wish this entire film could have been done better. Like I said, I know I complain about a lot of stuff, but there are good things in here. I would give this a 5 out of 10, like right down the middle. What about you?
I guess the same way.
We didn't give the rating before we did the spoiler talk. Fuck it, who cares? This movie is all over the place. So is this review. I don't even know how long this review is.
We'll find out.
Man, I felt bad that I did not, because I'm working on 2 massive videos right now for our other channel. So that meant that I didn't get to give you guys like a regular comic book video this month. I know that a lot of you guys enjoy. I think this covers it. I think I'm good. You guys, this is your comic book talk this month, because that'll probably be how long it takes you to watch this. The dog really wants to play, and I apologize, buddy. Because we've been making sounds, we've been laughing.
Yes, and we're getting you all excited.
Getting so excited. You've probably been hearing her jump. Yeah, pick her up, because we're about to go out. Yes. Everybody likes to see Peach when we go out.
Yay!
Wave to the camera, Peach. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Do we even have a normal sign up for the show? I don't remember anything. I remember nothing before this movie. Dear God. How did I only give this a 5 out of 10? It's fine. It's fine. It's a fine film. It's a totally fine film. It's okay.
It's just exhausting to talk about.
It is so goddamn exhausting. You're a good dog. Your breath is terrible, though, but you're a good dog.